Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello, everyone. I'm Marla Goldberg. I'm the creator and host of Guided Spirit Conversations, and I'm going to start out by making an apology. We are having a lot of technical difficulties, so we are streaming live on Facebook. This will be uploaded on YouTube and to the other streaming platforms that we go on, as well as our audio platforms. But I'm going to start by saying that I'm really excited about today's guest. So, Sheila Gillette, excuse me, is our guest. Sheila has over the past 25 years been empowering and educating thousands of people worldwide through intimate conversations with Theo. Sheila has been the direct voice medium for Theo, a collective of 12 archangels, since her near-death experience in 1969. In partnership with her husband, Marcus, Sheila has been able to share Theo's wisdom in an ever-widening community, sharing transformational messages that foster an enlightened state of consciousness. Before meeting both Sheila and Marcus, who are on their own spiritual paths, Sheila had already been channeling Theo for over 25 years, which is hard to believe because if you look at Sheila, it doesn't look like that. She's been doing this for that long. Marcus was happily immersed in his own spiritual journey, inspired in part by Theo's teaching after reading Sheila's first book, The Fifth Dimension, Channels to a New Reality. But after a divinely guided meeting and an instant connection in 1997, their impact on the world grew along with their love. Hello, Sheila, welcome.
Hi, Marla, it's really great to be here. And, it's, as I said to you before, this is going to be spectacular, everybody, because we made this happen together through the ethers, through technology. And, Marla, to everybody that has a computer, they know what we're talking about. So to me, computers were magic. When I started doing this work, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have home computers. So yep. Every time I'm on a show like this, it's magical to me because Theo told me that this would be happening years ago when I first began. And I had no thing to rely as evidence on that possibility, except I trusted them implicitly. And here we are. So thanks for inviting me.
Oh, I'm so grateful. And as you know, trusting spirit, however spirit comes through, is the most powerful way to maneuver life, our life being selves in this human costume that we wear.
Isn't that true? It's kind of like Henry Ford said, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And I keep that in my mind because I keep saying to myself this morning as we were going through it, to anything that's a challenge, is I got this. We've got this, and it's just a matter of saying yes to whatever challenge might be there and embracing it. And then it comes through and we got here and I'm just thrilled.
And the part I want to add to that, because even if you're afraid, even if you feel some fear, go through that veil of fear because will be much better than you could even have anticipated it being. I'm sure when you started down your spiritual path after your near-death accident, which I want to hear about, that you might have been a little afraid of what was going on because it was so foreign to you.
Well, in 1969, these things weren't openly talked about. In fact, people were very afraid of it. And so when I had my near-death experience, I had pulmonary embolus. My lungs were full of fluid. I could not breathe. I felt as if I had an elephant sitting on my chest and I was in intensive care. And I said, hey, God, give me a job. I will do anything. I just had a brand new baby girl and I had 2 little kids at home and I wanted to stay on the planet to be their mother. And I just kept repeating that, please give me a job. And I was in the intensive care and I wasn't on any drugs because they were giving me anticoagulants to stop clotting, because pulmonary embolus or clots that go into your lungs break the blood vessels. So I was completely aware of what was happening, and I knew if I closed my eyes, it wouldn't open them again. And I didn't know at the time, but my family was being prepared that I would not live through the day. And I knew this after, of course, but I just kept saying that. And then the room got really bright, just as if the sun had risen in the room itself. And I saw movement at the end of my bed, and I saw Jesus standing there. And you can imagine, I wasn't afraid, but it was like, oh, okay, okay. And I could feel this love, but I was mesmerized by his eyes. And when I focused on his face, he smiled at me. He crossed his arms, and I heard in my clairaudiently, in our inner mind hearing, a distinct male voice that said, "Remember, my child, you're loved." And at that point, I felt like this warm liquid had been poured in my crown and was seeping down inside my body in every cell. And as it went through the trunk of my body, I felt as if I could take a deep breath. And so we call it a near-death experience. I have experienced several of the criteria that near-death experience studies give us. But I know I had a miraculous healing that day. And I started getting better. I was in the hospital for a month. The doctors were amazed. They couldn't believe that I was getting better. I got out of the hospital a week later. I went to see my doctor. He didn't even recognize me. That's how much healing had happened. And I started, it was about 6 months when I was strong enough to hold the energy. Oh my gosh, I had all kinds of psychic phenomena happening to me. Now, remember, this was back then and nobody talked about it. I had a belief in psychic ability, and reincarnation and those kinds of things, and I had experienced some intuitive experiences, as we all do, but nothing to the degree that started happening to me. I started having exterior phenomena happening. I had inside messages I could hear clairaudiently as I heard Jesus's voice that day. And then I tranced spontaneously and became a direct voice trance medium for 12 archangels known as Theo. So this was 1969. So you can imagine, I didn't go into public places and say, guess what I can do? Because people, this has been waves of awakening that have happened since then. And we all have psychic ability. I really believe this. And I think now, you can sit in a Starbucks, or you can sit at a cafe or out to dinner, and you can overhear conversations about channeling, about gut feeling, psychic experiences. It's in the movies, it's on television. And Theo told me back in the very, very beginning, when they started coming through, that this would be happening. And the fifth dimension, which you referenced in my first book, talks about this time now we're living in, that this is the fifth dimension we're in now. And it's fully expressing our divine essence, that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around.
Which is, I'm a firm believer of. And then we were talking about your Gaia series that I'm watching, Beyond the Veil, I think it's called. And then it's broken down into demystifying channeling. And I can't remember what the other two titles are, but it talks about the fifth dimension and what the veil actually is, and how it's getting thinner and thinner and more phenomenon, because more people are opening, more people are accepting this. But in 1969 or 1970, your husband, who I'm going to gather was not of that ilk, How did he handle
Well,
this in your kids?
it wasn't that he wasn't a believer, Marla. It scared him. We didn't know anybody. I was 24 years old. And here is a young mom, and goes into the hospital, has a new baby, almost dies, then comes out, and all this weirdness starts happening in their lives. So he just didn't want it in his life, basically. But he began recognizing as confirmations started happening that, okay, this can be real, but he was still frightened of it. It was because, we had little kids. What would the neighbors think? How would they be ostracized, quite frankly, and the only book I could find at the time to kind of figure out what was happening to me, pardon me, was an Edgar Cayce book. And here he was laying down, being a direct voice trance medium. And I thought, well, that's what's happening to me, because I started out laying down.
Oh, that's right.
The voice started speaking through me. So it's been a progression of growing with the experience, and with Theo coming through me and aligning more with my physical body. So it's been a life of I say I have an interesting job, but I have a regular life.
Okay, I like it. I like the way you say that. That's good. So when you were first starting to channel, because some people really get physical feelings, they feel their body changes as the channeling happens. Did you start having that as well?
Oh yeah, extreme. When Theo came in, the energy was so powerful. When you hit your elbow, that uncomfortable feeling that just radiates in your whole body electrically. Yes. That's how it felt as they were coming in my body. And I said, boy, if this continues, I can't do this, because it was really uncomfortable. And they said, no, this is just an adjustment to your frequency. And that they were adjusting me to be able to blend with my frequency so that they could then speak directly through me.
And so I know you've helped thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people through your years and years of being out there channeling Theo. Mm-hmm. But does Theo come in and help you with the guidance of your own personal life and how you address things, especially if you're faced with human issues, human challenges? Do they come in and sort of like, no, Sheila, do it this way, and help you maneuver with more space and grace?
They do assist me. I've been a student of Theo's teaching, but they don't do my life for me. So I certainly asked questions. So many people think, oh, your life must be really easy. You have 12 archangels that tell you what to do. No. They, if I'm going through something that my soul has challenged me with, that's my growth. That's my personal growth. And they're not going to do my growth for me. I need to do it. Do they support me? Most of the time they say, everything's going to be all right. Or have you thought about, they might, they don't tell me what to do, but they give me a clear perspective. They widen my aperture to see solutions, possibly. But just knowing that they're there in that support. But I'll tell you, one time I was going through a particularly challenging time. And so like everybody else, I was feeling very victimized by it. And I was whining, Theo, why do I have to go through this? And they said to learn compassion for the human experience. And I thought, well, that's okay then. And then they said, this is for your growth, your soul growth. And then I made a decision that day, instead of whining about it and being the victim, which I don't like being, I thought, okay, this is something I my soul chose for me to be challenged with, and challenge is the curriculum of growth in a lifetime. So I thought, I'm going to squeeze every single bit of the learning out of this that I can, instead of resisting it. And you know what happened? It got easier because I wasn't resisting anymore. I was being curious about what I could learn. I guess that's what I would suggest to anybody that feels victimized or challenged. Just engage with it rather than trying to resist it, because it'll take over your life, whatever it is.
Well, it's like a salmon fish, swimming upstream. It's challenging, it's a struggle, opposed to allowing the flow to just take you where you need to be.
Yep.
And it just makes a huge difference. And it makes a huge perspective too. A friend of mine, her 3 words are surrender, trust, and allow. And if people just surrender and know that whatever you're experiencing to heal from, to grow from. And I always talk about everything as a lesson, opportunity, or gift, or combination thereof. And so if you take every experience, positive and perceived negative, you then are able to have an easier time of it. And that's what I think you're saying as well.
Yeah, my good friend Mary Morrissey, she says, hit the pause button. And Theo's kind of adopted this. They liked it when she told us this, so they've adopted it in their language. But she says it's the 3-day rule when you're in those crises moments, that you just hit the pause button. And that if you notice in your life, usually things get resolved in 3 days. But you come to a better perception of whatever you need to do and a better solution to what any problem might be. And that's that point of time, rather than being reactive, you can be responsive. So we call it the 3-day rule, or hitting the pause button. And it's really true. It really is true. And we can all look at those times in our lives when we didn't react and we just step back for a minute, how things kind of work out.
It's true. I agree with that. My husband uses the 24-hour rule. Like, you don't do anything for 24 hours. Hit the pause button before you take any action. Give yourself time, what I call the space and grace, to just settle into what's going on, to clear your mind so that you can then move forward.
Yeah, it's same thing. And it works. It really works, because we don't make the best decisions in reaction.
No, we don't. Nobody ever does. I mean, that knee jerk, it needs to slow down and not jerk so quickly. I think more people would have a better response in situation if that would be the case. So let's talk about the consciousness that's going on now. And because we were talking offline about, how things are just getting thinner, and more people are opening up to this higher consciousness, this awakening. What do you feel, or has Theo been giving you guidance as to the phenomenon of people opening to more spiritual, metaphysical beliefs, being open to it?
Well, make your life easier. I think it makes the magic of life. But it's this time is a really magnificent time, even though there's so much chaos. This chaos is necessary to make the changes that are necessary to be in alignment with the 5th dimension. And part of this, and there's been ways of awakening. I've been doing this work for over 5 decades, in the midst of my 6th. And so it's, I've been witnessing. Like I said, we're all psychic. We're all have these abilities, and this intuitive abilities we're beginning to recognize. So everybody's having some experiences. That's why we're seeing programs like yours, things that we're doing in our programs and mentorings, growing exponentially, because people want to know what's happening to me. Is this right? Or they want to expand with it. And it's all about the 5th dimensionary energy, which is consciousness shift never experienced before on the planet. And to what you talked about is the veils. The veils are, we're stepping into the awareness of our multidimensionality, that, that it's not really linear time. We can be aware by asking on the inner, getting in touch with those abilities. We can be in our past, we can be in our future. Theo calls it our future self, because we really aren't limited. We are divine, eternal souls coming into this body, but not limited to it. So that's what we're recognizing in this change.
So when people are changing their limiting beliefs at the same time as they're opening and shifting, would you agree with that at this point in time?
Absolutely. Theo has brought forth a protocol, a training that we do called soul integrational process. And in that, it's how to change limiting beliefs, because beliefs they're adopted or created in situations and circumstances that happen to us from our outside experience. So the integrational process then lets us get in touch with where a belief began, whether in this lifetime or other experiences, and how we can rewrite the script, because it's just an adoption of a belief that we're not worthy or not enough that we can change. The events won't change. They're history. They're our experience, but our perception about those events can change. And we can recognize the gifts and blessings and teachings they've given us and be empowered by it rather than disempowered.
It's so true. And when your perception changes, everything changes around it. You don't feel the need to react in your old way. You can react in a calmer, more open way. That would be what I'm getting from that.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
And so you've recently published The Art of Relationship, Discover the Magic of Unconditional Love. Are we talking about unconditional love for the world, for animals, self-unconditional love, or all of this combined?
All of it. And primarily it's loving the self. And then how that affects all of our other relationships, families, work relationships, all of them. And so the book addresses all those relationships. It's not just primary relationship. It's the primary relationship, the relationship to the self. And then how we navigate that in our lives with all other relationships. Theo says everything's relational. Everything we do is relationship based. And when we love ourselves enough, and that unconditional love is a solid state of being, it's not a feeling. You could say it's peace, it's joy, it's happiness, however people want to describe it, but it's like they say, like the eye of the hurricane, it's the calm. No matter what we're challenged with, what we're experiencing in life, we can be in that soul-centered place of unconditional love. And, it's so often talked about, but most of us go, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it really is that solid state of being. They even say that God is a solid state of unconditional love that holds the calm for our opportunities of growth. So when we can achieve it, there we go. We can navigate life more with ease and grace.
It's so true. So let's talk about people who don't understand how unconditional, how God is unconditional love, because they go, wait a minute, God, brought me, famine or lack or this or that. Of course, they're blaming it on the external opposed to their reactions to what's going on, which is what I've, understood. What do you say about that? What do you say to people who say that to you?
God didn't do anything to you. Well, because we are the creator of this life. We chose to incarnate. We won the lottery. We got a body. There are plenty of souls out there that would love to have a life, so we all came here significantly, to be significant, and whatever that means in our individual lives. We can only determine that as the soul that said, I'm going there and I'm doing this life. So that God did this to me and God did that to me. No, like I said, the challenges we have in life is our soul drawing to us what we want to learn in this incarnation. And in my own experience, as I said earlier, when I started to realize that and accept it, that I wasn't a victim of life, that life was happening for me and through me, it changed my life forever. So, and just saying, okay, what can I get out of this? Instead of saying, I can't move, I can't do anything because God did this to me. I mean, I could have done that in intensive care.
That's true.
Why did God do this to me? Well, God didn't. This was part of my soul's journey, or I wouldn't be here talking to you.
So that's part of the plan.
Yeah. Theo says we have a blueprint when we come in. It's like building a house. You have a foundation and then you build the structure, but you can change the walls or anything inside. So that's what we might call destiny or creative process. Pardon me, I'm going to take a sip.
Oh, please do. I think I'm going to join you.
This is my morning coffee. Oh, good.
Yes.
I have to have an insulated cup like this to keep it warm enough through my morning.
Well, it's going to last a long time.
Yeah. But anyway, we have this blueprint of what we want to learn. Emphasis on what we want to learn. And we may not be conscious of it. It's kind of like Brian Tracy. He's been a New Thought teacher over the years.
Yes.
And I remember one of the things that stuck when I heard him say it was, if you knew all the things that that you were drawing to you, you wouldn't sign up for that class. But it's in your best interest to do whatever it is. And it's true, if we, in our challenges, if we knew what was coming, we'd probably say, no, I'm not doing that. But that's where we grow the best, isn't it?
It truly is. I mean, I'm a firm believer of it, and I know the challenges I've chosen and I've worked through so that I can be on the other side of it, understanding, what you're talking about, because I'm like, yep, I get it, because I've lived it and I've come out the other side, and it's brighter and happier and more joyful. And that's what I talk about at the end, that if you need something, ask your beings on the other side, because they don't have free will. But they're your cheerleaders and they want to help you, but they can't do anything without your help and you allowing it to happen.
Yeah. It's a collaboration.
Truly is. Life is collaboration. Speaking of collaborations, great segue, writing the book. You, Marcus, Theo. Now, does Marcus also, is he able to channel Theo, or how does he work with you in process?
Marcus is an amazing, curious man that never runs out of questions. And he's a great question asker. And so as we create these programs and these books, he is the one that's like the moderator, like you, Marla. He's the one that asks the questions. And we get questions from all of our clients all over the world as well. And much of this book, Theo, several years ago, we said, what's next? Where do you want us to focus? And they said relationships. So this is what was born out of that request by them. And we do an Art of Relationship retreat. They were live before COVID. They're virtual now. But some of the book is even taken from those live events and interaction with clients, and which are very powerful stories. And So the art of relationship speaks about the soul integrational process and loving the self. And then how to navigate our relationships with ease and grace. There's several chapters, and one of them, there's one on healing from betrayal. There's primary relationship, finding your soulmate or other. But it's also improving the relationship you have, if that's what you want. So there are many different segments that gives us information on how to navigate all of our relationships, because that's where we're those, Marcus likes to say, those are the places that we get the highest highs and the lowest lows. And it's really true. But to Marcus's point, he's a magnificent question asker. So we navigate that. We talk about our story, and then he communicates with Theo and asks the questions that you'll find in the book answered.
Okay, well, that makes sense, that he would be that individual. I'm going to, for no other, I keep hearing mouthpiece. That's what they're saying to me, mouthpiece.
Yep, he is.
And he's going to sit there and, guide the ship for the questions so that you get the information that you want. It's a beautiful collaboration.
Well, and what's beautiful when we do an event too, and somebody asks Theo a question, he is so intuitive with them that he can ask a follow-up question on behalf of the individual that they didn't even think about, that makes the information even richer for them. So he uses his own intuition, but Marcus is a clairvoyant. He sees pictures, where I'm an auditory learner, so I'm clairaudient. I hear messages. So we all have a primary way we receive.
We do. We absolutely do. Do you get into doing, I don't know if you're teaching classes anymore, more than the retreats or anything else, but what kind of classes, if so, are you teaching, so that if people wanted to participate in a class, what various ones you're offering?
Yeah, we do. That's primarily what we do, is teach. And we have 12-week programs, we have 6-month programs, and year-long programs. And the first introductory program that we do is Thrive, which is the soul integration process, where people get all the tools to do the process themselves. And that's 12 weeks, which is a foundational course for others. But right now, what's available is a 7-week course, The Art of Relationship. And we do all these virtually now. In our longer programs, we have, after Thrive, we have an accelerator program. People are trying to change their lives. They now have the soul integration process to release the limiting beliefs, so that they can create and dream and create the life they want to live. And so that's a 6-month program. And we also have a 6-month program that's a certification program for people who want to become certified soul integration process facilitators. And then our year-long program is Premier Master Coaching. And that's a year, and we have 2 entry points to that. But this requisites of that are people have to be in the other programs to have really the foundation to further the changes they want to make in their life.
That's wonderful. That sounds like, a great place for people to start, especially if they're just starting on their path and they're confused and don't know where to go, and ways to, understand. Because
we also have a membership that people can do on a monthly subscription, where we have a lot of video and audio information that they can begin there for a nominal fee monthly to begin their process with learning from Theo. And so there's different levels that we do have. we have several programs that are evergreen programs that they can purchase and begin their journey if they're not ready to go into several weeks with us.
Which I think is a great way to start also, because many people fear spirit. And I don't understand the fearing of spirit, because if your life isn't working and there's another alternative, why are you afraid of trying something before, to see if that'll work? It's like tasting something you've never tasted before. Taste it, see if you like it or not. And if you don't like it, don't pick up the fork for it again. But if you do like it, you can indulge in more. And it just sounds like what your programs offers those kind of insights to people who are truly afraid of the spiritual realm.
Well, and usually the fear has been brought forward outside them, other people's opinions, however they were raised, and so sometimes it's difficult to bridge that gap. But what I'm witnessing are people, when you start having psychic experiences, and that's what's happening to people, and we call it the awakening. I'm so sorry this wokeness became so political, because this awakening is just really a blessing for all of us to be all we can be. So as people are having their own experience, they want to know what's happening to me. And that's where the journey begins as well.
It's so true. And I just think that knowing that there are places to go where they can get guidance. And do you have like a community group where people can talk to other people and they could calm them down? Yeah, because you can't answer every single question that might pass your, thing, especially because a lot of them are repetitive. If one person's asking them, a lot of people are feeling the same thing.
In our classes, we have a private, like Facebook. It's not a Facebook, but it's like that, where they interact with each other. And we do have a Facebook page, and we do live stream on Facebook like you do. And we have membership webinars where they can ask, the members get to participate in that. It's live. It's live like we're doing now. Nice. So we have many opportunities for people to gather and get to know each other. And, the byproduct of our community that we didn't realize would be so great of our classes and our mentoring programs are the friendships people make. And they're global, because what we do, and all of our stuff is live that we do, unless you get an evergreen program that is recorded. But all of our classes are live, like what we're doing now, and interactive. We do breakouts for the people to interact together, just like if we're in a hotel and you stop at the coffee to get a coffee when there's a break. It's kind of like that, where people get to know each other and communicate, like you were asking, to ask each other questions.
Which is great. Well, we're close to our charity shout out program. So I'm going to take a little bit of the detour and talk about your charity. And because your charity is also a collective charity, I'm going to let you talk about it, tell what it is and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, we love to give to Arizona Shares. And the reason for that is when we give to that charity, it is matched by the community, the newspaper particularly, and one-on-one. So every dollar we give, they match up to a certain point, which is great because it's doubling what we can give. And it serves our community in many, many areas. So it's very broad in the money going to serve the community as a whole in different areas. So we like that. And we do like, also, we have one other that we like, to serve children in need that need a home, and Covenant House. We like giving to Covenant House too.
And
So those,
anything that helps children. Yeah.
yeah. But the Arizona Shares helps children. It helps the whole community. So we like that we can enhance the amount of dollars that we can give by it being matched.
Which is lovely, especially because, and I'm not going to get political, but you are, you're right on the border. Arizona's right on the border, and you tend to get a lot of people from Mexico, Venezuela, the other countries that are trying to come in, and it does put a tax on the government. It puts a tax, and I'm not talking tax like money tax, it just taxes all your resources.
On services, yeah.
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 And so this is another way to sort of like lessen that burden for the residents of Arizona.
Yes.
If it's matched.
It does. Yeah.
So it'd be great to hear more communities doing that. I don't hear about many communities doing a one-to-one matching like that.
I don't either. And we lived in the Los Angeles area in Los Angeles County for 9 years. And there may have been, but I never saw it in like we did here, how we found out about it here. But Marcus has been very involved in the Boys and Girls Clubs. We lived in Arizona before we lived in California, so we came back to Arizona. We love it here. And so he's always been instrumental in helping children and being involved in communities. So we love doing that.
Well, they say children are our future, and they are, because at some point we're going to be gone and they're taking over. So
yeah, and they said that about us, Marla. Remember that? It's like, what are you talking about? And I know the kids today are probably going, we want to take over. You guys missed us.
Well, in some cases they wouldn't be wrong, but in the time of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which I think is some more of our time, people were like, oh my God, we're going to leave this to them? And here we are.
Yeah.
Running things. Some areas, some areas could use some improvement. But isn't that life?
But that's all part of this fifth dimension. It's all going to improve. We just have to have faith and some optimism. It's all going to work.
Does Theo ever give you insight into the conflicts that are going on? And
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And my book, The Fifth Dimension, talks about this, that this consciousness shift will change political structures. We are a global economy. That's a good thing, that by the people, these changes will come. And what are we watching? All these protests everywhere in the world to change, to be able to vote, to change the structure of the governments. And we're growing and we're laying new foundations. We're changing how we do business. We're changing business. There's many good things happening on the planet as the things that are dropping away that don't work anymore. New things are coming to fill that void. And we have to think optimistically, because it's true. If we look for the good, we'll find it. Yes. If we look for the negative, we'll find that. So it's be the person that's looking for the new change, the greater change, and being part of the change, rather than just sitting around and saying, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Theo says, out of the chaos that we're in right now will come order. And they want us to be mindful of what chaos is happening in us, because it's just a reflection in the outer world. So as we come into that soul-centeredness, that unconditional love state, what's going to be radiated out? Love. That changes everything.
It does. I mean, that song, there's many songs about love, but what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It does. Yeah. And we need to put it out there because of the ripple effect. Well,
Theo always tells us, when we're just living our life daily and we're in a challenge, what would love do? ask ourselves, what would love do in this situation? It's an interesting self-question.
It's a great question. And it's a great thing to listen, to think on. What would love do? No matter, even if it's just seeing somebody who's down and out, what would love do for this person? Or one of my things is animals. So, animal abuse things just really irk at my heart. It just yanks it. Same thing with animals. But that's a whole nother topic, which we're not going to go down that hole. Now, you also have a third book that we haven't mentioned, correct? Do you want to mention that briefly?
Yes, that's the first book that Marcus and I, when we came together, collaborated on, and it's called The Soul Truth, A Guide to Inner Peace. And it gives us a lot of wisdom and applications for our daily lives. And it has several chapters on the things that we're talking about as well, and how to navigate life with a different perspective. So we have the three, the fifth dimension, soul truth, and now this wonderful book on relationship, The Art of Relationship, discovering that power of unconditional love. And these things, it's always good to have a mentor. It's always good to have a coach, if you would. And these books assist us to change our perceptions and to change the way we live in the way we respond rather than react. So they're a labor of love, that's for sure.
I love that. That love word again. So Sheila, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to put out to the listening audience?
I just want your audience to know that you're more than you think you are. You're more powerful than you know. And just knowing that and using that ability of what you came to do is a gift you give the world. So don't hesitate.
I like that a lot because it's so true. People just don't realize that they are powerful beings and that, they're not being squished by the thumb of whether it's society or government or whatever. They have options, even though you don't feel like you have an option. Pull back, like you said, on taking a pause, and then moving forward with, figuring out what your options are. And even if it's just changing yourself a little bit from looking from the dark side of something to looking more optimistically at it, then I think it just opens up a whole new vista, a whole new world for us as human beings.
Oh, Marla, you're so right. Because, our perception is like the thermostat in our house. If we change it just 1 degree, if we broaden the aperture just a tiny bit, it can change the trajectory of our life. Like our thermostat in our house, if we change the temperature either up or down, it changes our whole environment. That's what change perception can do.
Oh my God, I absolutely love that. And I feel that we're coming to the end of the show. Sheila, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much. I know we had a few challenges going on, but like you said at the beginning, our perseverance brought us here. And this is such a rich show, a content-rich show. And I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you and to get to know you as well. This has been really fun. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
I appreciate it. You can find Sheila and Marcus's books and classes and retreats at theo.com. Am I correct? THEO, capital letters, .com.
Yes.
That's the website. And we're going to have all the links we've talked about on the blog. So please look out for that. Again, so grateful that not only for your time, your wisdom, Theo's wisdom, Marcus's help, your beautiful puppy behind you for sitting through the energy of all of this.
Oh, he would not be here. He would create such a ruckus. We call him Charlie the Wonder Dog.
Oh, that's so funny. I used to have Tug the Wonder Dog. He just went to the Rainbow Bridge about 6 months ago. But it makes a difference to have our animal energy with us. So
very much so. Yeah. The little familiars in spirituality. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bridget, once again, I have to thank you for all you do, because you are my tech miracle worker, my support. You help me in so many ways, and there aren't enough words for me to convey. Just let you know how grateful I am each and every day that you're a part of my team. Thank you. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day and out of your life for being a part of the show, because the show is done for you, from my heart to yours, to bring you amazing people and insight and information like Sheila Gillette and my other guests that have been on the show and who are coming on the show, because it's to help you elevate your consciousness, open up your aperture, as Sheila says, to bring in more for your life, because we were not put down in this world, into this body, to struggle. Though we do struggle, until we learn we don't have to struggle, and we can heal our way through to, as Sheila says, the art of relationship and unconditional love. So know that this is done for you. If you like the show, like it, subscribe to it, review it. Would love to hear what you have to say about the show, and what you would like to see on the show, other metaphysicians, other topics, because this is, again, is done with you in mind. Next week, my guest is Jean Miller, and Jean is, and I'm going to find it, an author, healer of Inner Speak, and creator of Inner Speak. So please tune in next week. And as I leave you, as always, I send you love, blessings, and gratitude. Know how grateful I am that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it, because not only are you my student, you are my teacher. And not only am I a teacher of yours, I am your student. So thank you. And before I leave you, I'm going to say those 3 words that I always say. I love you. You are loved, not just by me, not just by your friends and family, but by so many beings on the other side of the veil who just are your biggest cheerleaders and want you to just blossom in your own special individual way. So ask for what you need, and because they don't have free will to just step in and keep you from hitting bottom. So ask for guidance, help, support, and they will start conspiring on your behalf, and you will see your world start to shift. Okay, until next week, stay well.